First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly caused God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly caused Jesus. Bahashim means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. That's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how, Esau has put medical terms on a spiritual problem. And the title is most likely not going to be that, but this is what we're seeing is, I came across this video and it's titled Schizophrenic Episode on Camera. And the title is Schizoing Through Life. And this was 7 years ago, and it was an episode, right, of what the world calls schizophrenia. Now, what is schizophrenia? It says is a serious brain disorder causing distorted thinking, hallucinations like hearing voices, delusions, and disorganized speech or behavior, often emerging in late adolescence or early adulthood. It involves positive added experiences like hallucinations and negative reduced emotions and motivations, symptoms alongside with cognitive issues impacting daily function. Diagnosis is clinical based on behavior and history, with treatment involving medication and therapy, though there is no cure, says Medline Plus. Now, this is what Esau calls it, a brain disorder. He's going to put all those scientific terms on there, but what this really is you having spirits on you, you having demons on you, okay? And those demons having the power to be able to interact with you, to be able to show you, the spiritual realm, to put even crazier thoughts in your mind so you can actually hear those thoughts. That's what it is this is a spiritual problem that Esau is trying to solve carnally. Now, how do we know this? Well, you got to go back to the scriptures. And I have 4 examples here, 3 examples really, where there were men that had, problems just like this, and the solution was Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Right? How the Messiah Yahweh Shai healed them through ultimately his power. And we have that power today via prayer and fasting. So let's go into this verse in Ephesians chapter 6, and I'll start at verse 12. It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Right? So you always got to remember that there is a spiritual realm. Right? If you don't even believe in the spiritual realm, then you have already lost, because the spiritual realm is what ultimately puts everything together. Like, if I remember correctly, there used to be on the periodic table an element that they took out that was called the ether, if I remember correctly. Right, so in a classical element that says there's no ether element on the modern periodic table, it was a theoretical substance, luminiferous ether, believed to carry light waves, but experience like Michelson morally proved it didn't exist, leading to its removal, though Mendeleev once included a hypothetical ether element at the very top, a placeholder. And I remember somebody going into this, the ether, how, the ether part of the periodic table was ultimately, the spiritual, the 5th element. It was removed from history books and from the periodic table. And whether, like here, ether, ignis, air, water, terra. So our ancient forefathers, they used to have a deeper understanding of the spiritual realm. Okay? That understanding is completely lost today because the Edomites are in power, and they don't believe in the Most High. They believe, in science. And when I say science, I mean, evolution, and how there's no spirituality at all. There's, the Big Bang Theory. That's Esau Edom for you. But We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits, principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So let's go into Mark chapter 9, and I'll start at verse 17. It says, and one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which hath a dumb spirit. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth, and he gnasheth with his teeth, and pineth away. And I spake to the disciples that they could cast him out, and they could not. Right? So his son was acting a certain type of way, and it was the spirit that was on him that was making him do that. Now let's actually do something real quick, and let's ask the chat, what could be a disorder that describes this today? The description in Mark 9 and 17 goes into epilepsy. That's what it would be called today. Epilepsy. The symptoms line up strongly. Dumb spirit, inability to speak during episodes, teareth him, violent convulsions, foameth at the mouth, classic during tonic-clonic seizures, gnasheth with his teeth, jaw clenching, pineth away, chronic illness, weight loss, episodes come and go, wheresoever he taketh him, suggests episodic attacks, not constant behavior, right? Pediatric epilepsy. And the Bible is not written as a medical textbook. The language reflects how illness was understood at the time. Even today, epilepsy in some cultures is still described in spiritual terms, because that's what it is. It's a spiritual problem. And how was it solved? Where it says that his disciples were able to cast it out. So he answereth him and saith, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him unto him, and when he saw him, straightway the spirit tear him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long is it ago since this came unto him? And he said, Of a child. And oft times it hath cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us, and help us. Yahushua said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out, and said with the tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. When Yahushua saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried, and rent him sore, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Yahushua took him by the hand, and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was coming into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing, but by prayer and fasting. So that is the solution that these scientists, the whole medical organization is not going to tell you. That the solution is prayer and fasting. They're going to tell you it's medications. They're going to tell you it's a problem with you. They're not going to tell you the actual solution. So when you go into this guy's channel, that was 7 years ago, and what is he doing today? Well, you find that he turned to the Bible, because, and when you look through his videos, you find he turned to the Catholic Church because he's looking for a solution, and he found that the Bible contains a solution, but ultimately, the how do I explain that? The Christianism, Roman Catholicism, it has some parts of the truth, but majority lies. Which, if there's some of the truth and majority lies, it's all lies. But the reason I say that is the Bible is so powerful, the amount of wisdom that it has in it is so powerful, that even with, what the Roman Catholics do with distorting the doctrine, there's still, nuggets in it. There's still points that when they break down the scriptures or go into stories, that there's nuggets. And this guy, he saw that. He saw how there is value in this book, but the path he's on is not the right one. He's being led away, on this whole false doctrine. So this literally right here. But there was a movie called The Book of Eli, which they showed that in the movie. Let's actually play this real quick. Let me see. I might just have to read the transcript because actually that's not the scene. Let's just find it on Google. The Book of Eli. Find the book. It has power. Give me a second. Let's put it in the chat. Let's see if we can find it real quick, just because, it's hit the point. Right. So, Carnegie says in this movie, the book isn't just a book, it's a tool. It's not a book, it's a weapon. People will do exactly what you tell them if you give them a reason, and this book gives them the reason. And most importantly, he explains why it's powerful. It's the one book that people will kill for. With it, I can control people. I can rebuild civilization the way I want. And that's the point, is that he understood that this book has power. And it can be distorted, and people will still follow it because of the power it contains. So, let's go into another scripture. Mark chapter 5, and I'll start at verse 2. It says, "And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwellings among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him." Right, so this guy had such strong spirits on him that he would be able to break chains. Verse 5, "And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Yahushua afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Yahushua, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many." Okay, so the reason this guy was acting that way was because the amount of demons that he had on. Okay, he was fully possessed. So when it comes to things like this guy has spirits on him. Okay, and you can see 3 years ago, he still has the same thing. They're still on him, showing you, the Roman Catholic Church and all that. It doesn't have power. So when you go into this video, okay, I don't want to play it. I'll jump around, but there's a certain point where, he literally says, let's see if I can find it, 429. But when you go into the comments, it says, when the voice told him to kill himself, he says, sometimes I debate if I should or not. So voices telling him to kill himself, voices in his head constantly, him seeing things. seeing people, those are those spirits, man. And this is literally a live video of it happening, which is insane to see. So let's get one more. This is Matthew chapter 17, and I'll start at verse. I think this is the same account as in Mark, but let's read it in Matthew. It says, the demoniac. Matthew chapter 17 and verse 14. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore vexed. For oft times he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water. Right, so it's the same account, but one thing I want to get here is it calls him a lunatic. Now when you go into that word in the Greek, it goes into to be moonstruck or lunatic, to be epileptic. Okay, so as chat confirmed, right, it was epilepsy that this guy had, the son had. And you know, how was it solved? Yahushua cured him, but told him that this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. So Esau applies a scientific solution to a spiritual problem. Okay, that's what Esau does. Better yet said, Esau applies a carnal solution to a spiritual problem. So hopefully this was edifying. With that, and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to elect, Shalom.